on YouTube. So we're going live. It's just booting up a second. So we're still currently at the moment. So it's Rita. Welcome again. So how wonderful an evening is this going to be?
Amazing. It's going to be amazing.
It is. It surely is. I'm just going to ensure that we're live. Yes, we are. So we sure are. We're all live. Okay. So now it's coming up to 7 o'clock. It's time for us to start another brilliant episode of the Empower Hour show with myself, your host, Sukhi Wahiwala. And this is the show where we bring celebrities, individuals who have been in prime business environments, individuals who've achieved massive returns to themselves with helping individuals, creating change on this planet. This is what this series is all about. And today, this is a big one for us because this is the half centenary. This is the 50th episode, of the Empower Hour show. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Rita. And this is, tonight I'm going to introduce, I might as well get straight to it because we're having such a great conversation earlier. And really, honestly, audience, you're in for a tremendous treat. And thank you for joining us on our live stream. I'm not actually on directly on YouTube to see it, but it's streaming via our Zoom recording platform. So tonight we have a really wonderful, heart-centered individual, which you can see to my right, but I'm sure on your screen to your left. It is just wonderful to have Rita Morar on the show this evening. This is our 50th show. We wanted to touch base with somebody who is coming from a real heart center and somebody who actually is a vocalist and a real beacon of light when it comes to the feminine energy moving forward into this in the world. So Rita, what can I say about her? And a reality of life is that she's a BBC show star. She's been involved in Glastonbury. You know, this is just an inspiring, what we classify as a versatile, soulful vocalist and singer who writes and sings her own material, is a Vajra player, and Vajra being the Indian piano, and she's looking to become the harmonium. Do you know what? There's such wonderful conversations. I'm going to invite her straight in. Welcome, Rita.
Thank you for having me, Sukhi. And firstly, congratulations on your 50th show. I'm quite honored to be here today.
Honestly,
so you won't forget me in a long time.
Thank you very much. It's a real jovial show, and people know this show and they follow us from around the world. Hello to everybody who's following. Follow us around the world, and it's because of the fact that it's real. It's about real talking with people. It's connecting to their heart, and everybody. We've got a lovely synchronicity where they've achieved whatever their mind's eye, their dreams that they had in their mind. But in this series, as everybody knows, Rita, we get really close with every one of our guests, and they, as you will, I'm sure, share the real atrocities or the challenges that they've had and things where they've lost support from people, so that we, as a younger generation. And I'm not talking about myself here, by the way.
I know myself as well.
Our listeners, the younger generation, know you're lying a little bit. I'm still not believing it. Wait until later on. We're going to tell everybody her age if she wants to. But wow, she's been a singer for 20 years, you know, and you think about it realistically, it doesn't make sense. But there we are. It is true. But we are in a position where we are inspiring the next generation to let them understand that it's not always a bed of roses. It's not just as easy as like a YouTube star or a singer, rapper out there. We are showing them that this is the reality of life, of how people have achieved greatness in life, like you have, Rita, being recognized across global platforms and becoming your own entity, which we'll talk about a bit more in the later first half. But showing how people go through ups and downs as well. So this show's not about my voice. I know I love to share it with everybody else here. So Rita, would you mind just sharing a little bit about, you're a British born from our little mini Punjab in England. It's the Hayes environment near Southall. Please tell us a little bit about your background. Where have you come from, and your brothers and siblings, if you have any?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Rita Morar, born and bred West London, raised in Hayes, grew up in Hayes. And I have one brother, and my family is quite big, and I'm married as well. No children yet. But it's the journey that I'm currently on.
Yeah, wonderful. So you've got one sibling younger
Younger, yes, a couple of years younger than
in the
me.
music industry, music vein as well?
He's not in the music industry, but he is talented as a
Wow.
musician as well. God gifted.
So are we going to drop his name?
Yes, it's Ravi. Bless him, Ravi. Big love to you if you're watching.
Brilliant. So a little conversation about yourself. I mean, honestly, the generations that we appeal to with the Empower Hour show, and I'm
Yes.
forever blessed for the audience and the love and attention that we all get from our Peterborough and the world posse and people who follow us around the Inspired Tribe. So we get very close and very sincere straight away, Rita. So my question to yourself would be something along the lines of this: was it all a bed of roses? You know, today you've been in Glastonbury, you've got your own channel which you deliver on Insta, you sing live, you've done 20 years of gigging, you've been in a band, you've been in a girl band, you've been in a so many different environments. That's a great accolade. You've been recognized by
Thank you.
BBC. Was it all a bed of roses?
No, it never is. But I wouldn't change it for the world because it's made me who I am as an artist today. So I'm grateful for all the lessons and blessings that have come across my path.
In your mind, you're talking about did you get the blessings of your parents when you went to them one day and said, I want to become a singer?
Yes, actually, at a very young age. And I think, Sukhi, that I'm one of the very lucky few back in, okay, I'm not going to give my age away yet, but back in the like 80s, mid 80s, where music wasn't seen as a positive force. But I was very blessed that my mother and father actually encouraged me to sing the devotional songs live as a child, but then progress it on,
Bhajans and stuff?
Yes, bhajans, shabd, kirtans, in the temple, playing the vaja, the harmonium, conducting bhajans for an hour. So you can imagine there's quite a lot of responsibility when I was quite young, but you know, I was ready to take it on.
What sort of age are you talking?
I started from the age of 8, and then ever since then, like from 6 till 16, I was conducting bhajans left, right, and centre, being part of a Sai community, learning and actually teaching little children as well a few things on the harmonium. But it was just so beautiful.
Yeah. So in that world where you had the blessings from your parents at that young age, within the what we call the religious recital arena, when did you start to think that you actually wanted to take this a little bit more seriously, you know, a bit more serious?
In fact, it was actually my parents that pushed that for me.
Oh, wow.
So from Hayes, I actually even remember the journey. We were going to Southwell, as you do on a Saturday, going to get the groceries and what have you, sing in the back. And I remember my father listening to Sunrise Radio, and there was a particular advert for a talent contest. And this is when I hit I was 15. And then what they had done, they had got the form for me and everything. And they didn't push me to it, but they said, Rita, Betty, are you going to do this? And I'm just full of like energy at 15. I'm like, yeah, why don't we do it? Because I was so into Bollywood. I love my music, and, you know, just growing up on Bollywood films, it was just a dream for me to actually put my voice in a different environment rather than a temple on a stage. So somehow I got to the finals of that contest. I didn't win, but however, the band that were supporting the artists needed a singer because their singer was going away for a bit. And then they approached my mum and dad. They didn't approach me. And then they got the best blessings of my family. And only then I started doing that.
Sorry to stop you there, but that
no, it's fine.
Cool. So hang on a second. Your parents had already pre-planned.
Yes.
They already had, in those days, we are the 80s. We're talking about it had to be ordered or actually received in the post.
Yeah.
So this is not a small, Betty, you know, or daughter, let's just, you know, would you like to do that? It was like, I'm going to get Rita to go.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So what a lovely push.
So they were my force. They're my positive force behind my music. So yeah.
Wonderful. And then what really strikes me is the eloquence or the etiquette from the Asian communities as a whole, which is very much all communities, but very specifically evident in the Asian community, that they were inviting you to be a part of a band, but they didn't ask you, they asked your parents because you kind of needed the blessings. Is that right?
Yes, utmost respect for them as well. You know, the manager and the wife. You know, are very dear to me. Without their blessings, Diamond Uncle and Amasanti, without their blessings, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it's not only my
That's
parents,
a lovely
so
little
big
hi to
love.
them.
Yeah, love, lots of love to them. But without their support and to grow me as a singer, I wouldn't
Mhm.
have the confidence I have today, purely because of that experience I had at a very young age.
That's wonderful to hear. So now this is when you're around about 15, 16 years old. So they've
Yeah,
asked you to
16.
become, the 16 years old, so they've asked you to
Yeah.
become a part of the band. Was it a
A
lead?
band, yeah. Yeah, it was a lead actually. I literally
Wow.
started from scratch, Suki. It was like none of these iPads or nothing. It was
No.
carrying around about 5 folders of paper and learning songs. And the thing is that I don't write in Sanskrit or Hindi, so it's all like English words, but the Hindi track. So it was a Bollywood band I was
Yeah.
part of the Asian music circuit. And the band was called Masala. And I had such fun because they were just so open to ideas, and we sang Bollywood songs live, you know, weddings and parties. And I got to see most of UK through them. And it was such a beautiful experience.
That's it's really stunning. I mean, that's such a great conversation at such a young age. And how did you balance this with your, I suppose you could say, your school life?
Yeah, it was very hard. I have to tell you, Sakin, you know, bed of roses we were talking about, it wasn't a bed of roses because not only was I singing like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because we had like local gigs that were already there, I was studying for my degree. And not only that, I was actually working as well part-time. So I had all these things going. So I was literally non-stop. I remember I used to lay my head down to sleep probably about 3 o'clock, get
Mhm.
up about 7 o'clock, but that was my life. That was my life. And I
That's
would never
incredible.
forget that.
Ah, I think these that what you just said there was the kind of thing that needs to be said to us to remind us that actually the going to sleep so late and waking up so early it's a commitment. It's a
Yes,
is it,
it was
would
a
you
big
agree?
commitment.
Yeah, would you
Mm.
agree that was just basically that? Do you know what? This is it. This is the life.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is my life. Yeah. And I committed to it at a very young age. So, you know, and the times where I should be going out with friends or going to the cinema or even like with my boyfriend, who's now my husband, you know, there were
They're-
days that I missed his birthdays and like major occasions. But because I had the commitment of being in a band, that was my first frontal to anything, obviously with my parents' permission at the
Of
time.
course, of course. Now, in those early days, you're gigging, you know, Thursday, Friday,
Yes.
Saturdays. Then you're working, because obviously this is post O level, I assume.
Yeah.
What were you doing? I mean, you've also got a career that you're balancing here as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do
Well,
as a career?
so my parents always like they pushed me musically, but they always said to me, "You've got to have a career behind you just in case if the
Yes.
music doesn't stop." And they always pushed me to do that. And so I was always like minded that I have to have my um, balance of my not saying that music isn't professional, but at the time, you know, it wasn't seen professional as it is
Mhm.
today. So something to fall back on. So I was studying travel and tourism.
Oh,
Travel and tourism. So I wanted to work in the travel industry, but then,
you don't say. Somebody who's a
yeah,
creative wants to travel the world,
I just
right?
wanted to travel the world. I
Freedom.
remember, literally.
Sorry, I stopped you there. Carry on.
No, yeah. So it was travel and tourism. So I was studying. I did a degree in travel and tourism, but I was at the same time working for BT in the shop, retail shop. So it's like three different worlds going on in my life, but
So,
I wouldn't change
studying
it.
BT,
Studying
so to
BT
make it
retail.
financially
Yeah,
viable, and then
yeah,
gigging at the weekends. Now I'm going to
yeah.
ask you a real direct question. I mean, because
You're
it's
right. Sure.
quite important if you don't mind. This the next generation. I mean, a lot of our followers are quite young. They're in the early teens, actually, because of the fact that we're very well established here in the Peterborough area, and we've got a lot of following there.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And what I'd like to ask you is finances in those
Yes.
days. Yeah, we're talking 80s and 90s. So what specifically? I mean, I speak to so many next generational children, and they're so hell bent on having their funds in their own bank. You know, that's their own
Yeah.
money, their own money. They can spend what they want to do.
Mhm.
Was it like that for you?
Yeah. Well, again, coming back to my parents, they always advised me that, you know, whatever you put out there will go back to you. So any music that any money finance I did get from my shows, it would always go back to me, whether it be through outfits, getting to the place, or just the upkeep of being an artist. Because we weren't sponsored, so it was just all ourselves. We had to do everything. But then at the same time, I took on a side a job in retail, just to keep me going as a student. I didn't live out purely because I had the commitment of being in a band, which if I had my way, I could have lived out. But because I was just so focused on so many things in my life, that just being near my parents just made my life easier for me. So financially, it was very I've always been financially independent that way. I've never relied on anyone.
That's a wonderful gift to have at such a young age, because
yes,
tough, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
you have to be, and it's you're carrying yourself that way. You're not falling back on anybody, and I really appreciate that lesson.
And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions now. I'm going to put you a bit on the spot, so you better get your warmed up there. A little bit of
some of my honey and chamomile tea.
So my question to yourself, Rita, you're from the Bollywood background, so you had a very good holding. As you said, you were using English Roman numerals, Romanized language.
Yes,
you were reciting Hindi Bollywood film songs. So we, in this modern life, we call this Hinglish nowadays. It's like it's a very, very different type of dialect. But the reality of what I'm asking, this is for all. I think it'd be wonderful, if you don't mind, if you could just give us the gift of listening to something from that era, from when you loved that. What reminds you of that era of being in Bollywood and singing some songs. It would be really wonderful if you sang a Bollywood song for us at all, a Hindi film.
Yeah, sure. There's a song I sang, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham.
Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. So that's basically a film which was a chart buster. Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. Basically means Kabhi Khushi means sometimes happiness and sometimes sadness or sorrow, whichever you want to see it. That's wonderful. It was a very big chart-topping hit. If you haven't heard of it before, do Google it if you want to.
It's a beautiful song.
Please.
Okay. मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया, मेरी सांसों में तू है समाया, मेरा जीवन तो है तेरा साया, तेरी पूजा करूं मैं तो हरदम, ये है तेरे करम, कभी खुशी कभी गम, ना जुदा होंगे हम, कभी खुशी कभी गम.
Lovely. And I've put a little
so I had to have the words.
Well.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Of course, that's wonderful. So this basically it was a chart-topping hit, and it was sung by Lataji herself. So what a rendition!
Beautiful icon. Thank you.
You're welcome. And now just a question. Thank you for sharing that. By the way, it's really cool.
Pleasure.
What I've noticed is that you have a good handle of language, but you took a turn. I think you got involved with BBC. BBC picked you up a little bit, didn't they?
So please that was a much later time though, Sukhi. I got married at 27, and I decided to stop singing in the band. Purely, it was because it was just a big part of my life, and I just needed that time out. So I got married, and then for 3 years I had no music in my life, and I have to tell you, it was the saddest time in my life because I wasn't singing. I wasn't playing the harmonium. There was no outlet for me because we had moved away as well in Hertfordshire.
Demographic move.
There was a demographic move, and it was the first time I was living out. Everything just changed for me. But come, I think it was 2008, I started to discover social media, and this is when social media started to pick up. And MySpace came along, and then so I started to see that people are putting their voices out there. Maybe I could do this. So I shared it as well. And in fact, it was one of my friends that actually told me to get back into singing, to do a Bollywood show. So I did it. But I felt that I could do more. So I decided to just put a few covers up. And then I was found by a reggae rock band. Now, hear me out. This reggae rock band was amazing because they used a lot of Eastern influences in their music. So I was able to put my ad-libs and my alaps and my understanding of where I could put such emotion into their tracks. And then that's how I then came back to music.
So just to touch on this, and we are talking about an era. Hang on a second. You're talking about something that's a rock band, but it also a reggae band.
Yes,
and then
it works.
you're adding, I'd say, rag
craziness.
into it as well.
It was crazy, so but it was so amazing.
Was that the start of the fusion type stuff?
Yeah, it was start of my fusion, the way that I sang, because we were blessed to actually then perform at Glastonbury. So this is where Glastonbury came in.
And what was
we were given the Phoenix Rose. And you must do, if you guys can check their music out,
Google it.
Please
now,
do.
You're
Please
on YouTube.
do.
When we finish this particular interview.
Yeah, not now, after.
yeah, stay here. By the way, if you'd like any questions or anything that you'd like to ask, please, where the subscribe down the bottom there. Please subscribe to our channel. It's Sukhi Wahiwala official content. And please leave some messages and comments down the bottom there. And if you like it, please press like. It's one of the things where usually when we have it on the radio station, it's automatically. It's a manual job because this is actually live. We're not pre-recording. We're going straight.
Amazing.
So just going back to that. So the Asian rock band, I'm calling it Asian, by the way, because you've added Asian bit. So Asian rock
that's fine.
reggae band. Was that through the era? Was that kind of like the noughties or was that the 90s? Because the 90s really had
it's not even the 90s.
Yeah. It had a real beautiful reggae ragga crossover, didn't it? With Bali Segu and all those early eras.
Yeah, we were kind of like, there was so much fusion going on at the time, Sukhi, like in terms of Talvin Singh ji, Nitin Soni ji, and that's where I discovered the fusion, and I just couldn't get out of my head the way that they fused the two sounds together, because being a Britasian, you're always trying to find your identity, your culture, and there was nothing out there. But then if there was an artist by the name of who I actually idolize, and her name is Najma Akhtar ji.
Wow.
And she fused on some of her albums a fusion of jazz and saxophone, and had even Talvin Singh ji on. So to me, and hearing that when I was 16, I thought, wow, that's something I want to do, but I never thought it would come to life. And then here I am in this reggae rock band singing at Glastonbury, my alaps and my ad-libs. And we even got to support one of the Wailers, Bob Marley's Wailers, I was singing for him. Yeah. It was such a surreal show. It was just an absolutely amazing show.
And this was at Glastonbury, right?
This is at Glastonbury, in one of the tents, unfortunately not the pyramid stage, but one of the other amazing stages. But not only did we do our set, we also supported Junior Marvin, who was an original Wailer with Bob Marley. So I had to learn like a lot of Bob Marley's tracks, and it's such a learning curve for me. But then it showed me just how versatile I was.
The versatility about the whole thing. So this is an era where I think through the around the noughties and the mid-early noughties, there was one of our other previous guests. His name was Terry Marley. He basically Terry. He brought the Asian Bhangra scene, or the Punjabi, or the Bhangra scene, or the Asian scene to Glastonbury, and he literally out of his own. He was talking about it in one of our previous shows. I think he was on episode 46 or 47.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're interested in that conversation with Terry, please do hook back and have a look at that as well. So with reference to Glastonbury, you're at this stage when you're running with the band, the second
the Phoenix Rose,
Phoenix Rose, the second band. Was this a full time, or were you still studying, or were you still working?
So at that time, I was working. So around 30, I was working, and
And you moved into was that a full time job, or was it full time?
It was full time. So the singing was on the side, and then the full time work. So my hustle, I had two hustles at the time, and I still do.
Hustles, I like that one.
Yeah.
My mind asked me sort of like, how did you manage to balance this? Because the kids of today want to do something like this. They want to wake up and dream big and deliver on what they want to, what their ambitions are. You're doing this. You've done this. You know, I can't say out publicly, nearly 20 years ago, but obviously the reality is that I know you don't look old enough, but there, yes, you are.
Thanks.
In a humble way, but
Yeah, of course, of course.
a beautiful conversation is that how could we inspire the next generation? I mean, what were you specifically doing to manage this, or was it just adrenaline? Let's get on with it.
So many things: adrenaline, passion for the music. You know, if you want something in life, you've got to go for it, and you've got to remember that you're going to have to put yourself out there to get it. And I'm not saying put yourself out there to the point that you suffer, but how can you do it? So break it down on how much you can actually handle, because you can actually say no to things as well, and you can say yes to things as well, because that's the power of life. You know, you've got this stamina in you that you just need to find and just push it forward. And that's what I did, Sukhi. I worked, I was married. I'm not saying marriage is a job, but you've got that commitment to be with each other and compromise and so forth. But also it's just the adrenaline and the passion of just how much you want it, and also time management. I cannot stress
that's the bit.
Time management is so vital.
That's what I was getting to. How could you burn the candle, as so saying, both ends, working and weekend gigging and evening necessary. So what sort of gigs were you doing? Obviously you're doing Glastonbury, and that's
we did Glastonbury, and that particular day we were there for the weekend. So we did the weekend, and then we traveled from Glastonbury back down to the Natural History Museum. It was just so surreal, Sukhi, and it was just
journey,
so beautiful.
isn't it?
Yeah, it was an amazing journey. We were so tired, but it was just, again, it was adrenaline, and I was able to perform one of my first ever tracks there, and that's where I met my producer for the track that launched me as a solo artist
into the environment.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to push you a little bit on this one, if you don't mind. Once again, get that little get it.
Okay. Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
A little bit of massage there. Get ready. The first track that I know that was your breakout was a track that was done, and it was called Pia,
yeah.
And it was basically sang, and it was the kind of very first time. It was quite some years ago, where there was an element of fusion involved in it. So it's taking all of that experience that you built up from the raga, from the reggae, from the rock and Bollywood, and the rags,
so
and
much.
fusing it together. So could you tell us a little bit about how fusion came about? How Pia came about as a fusion track?
So Pia was the first track that I actually released as a solo artist, and then that's the reason why I released that, is because there was such a demand for me to put something out there. After I had been discovered by BBC in 2010 in April, I was so worried to put something out of my own, but it just came in such a way that I was asked to be part of another talent show, would you believe it, by Rifko Arts. But that drove me to put Rifko Arts. Rifko Arts, amazing. And they were putting a show called Mummy G Presents, and I was one of their artists there. And
basically, Mummy G,
mum,
by the way.
Like Mum, like Mummy G.
Like Mum Presents.
Yes, she was presenting from her sofa, like all her like amazing like frames and artists, and I was one of them. And so I decided to write Pia, which means beloved, and to write it for that show. And then that became my first single as well.
In essence, that was a step into being solo, right?
Yeah, as an artist.
And as you said, in between, you had a bit of a timeout where you took some time out from all the band and everything.
Yeah, I took some time out. Rain was actually the first song that was actually remixed and launched me as a solo artist. But however, my first solo single was Pia.
Pia. Well, we're going to have Rain a bit later.
We are.
I'm listening for it right now, but I'm going to hold you on that one. Please hold it. But would you mind? That'd be really wonderful just to share the kind of, I think, the real fusion between two cultures, if not three cultures, that were interjected in that track. And Pia, it was rag as well from the Indian pure, but also the British style of fusion, but actually your own British Asian-ness as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
I'd love it. Please, if you can, take it away.
Okay. जो तुमने कहा मैंने सुना जो तुमने कहा मैंने सुना, मैं कैसे रहूं तेरे बिना, तेरे वास्ते धड़के जिया मेरे पिया, मेरे पिया, मेरे पिया, मेरे पिया. I need you to feel that we are as one. The love that we have is second to none. I'll swim with the sea, I'll fly with the stars, I'll be here for you, come as you are.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm not sure if the audience can hear what beautiful synergy with a Western and an Eastern philosophy. Beautiful,
Thank
beautiful
you.
words, and it's
Thank
such
you.
a
Thank you so much. I
so nice.
decided to just just fuse the two sounds because that's who I am. I'm British-Asian, so
Absolutely, and very proud about it as well. You know, we're not with
yes.
arrogance, but with the humility.
Thanks.
Now, thank you very much for that. And this is actually, would you believe, 30 minutes, half an hour
Wow.
already passed,
Amazing.
just like that. So I'm just going to do a quick synopsis and we'll jump straight back into part two. So this is the Empower Hours show with myself, Sukhi Wahiwala, and we have an amazing artist today who's been received across the globe. You can see her waving there with her videos. And I'm not joking. It's been wonderful. We've been serenaded by a wonderful voice. Please do stay tuned in. We're going to now move into a slightly different gauge. So you're now visualizing, you're kind of seeing a little bit from there. I mean, moving forward a little bit, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, just to go straight into giving it a bit more of a history around Rain, the track,
yeah, sure.
kind of like your recognition track,
yeah.
the song that came out.
So Rain came from a sad place, just fallen out with a friend, and I remember just sitting on the bus, and it was raining, and I thought, God, cannot people because there was people running that had no umbrellas. I'm thinking, can they not feel the rain? And then I just had that little disagreement, and it was with my friend, and I thought, can they not feel the rain? So it became a metaphor, can they not feel anything? Can they not? And then this song became a love song, and it just grew and grew. And then the producer from the Phoenix Rose, he's an amazing artist called Steve Fingers Carty. I put the idea to him and I said, would you do something to this? And then he sent me a full instrumental, Sukhi. And then we got into the recording studio. First time I put my own words and Alarp's ad-libs down, and then I put it on SoundCloud, and that's it. I expected nothing from it at all. But somebody in India, an amazing producer, DMB, drum and bass producer by the name of Piyush Bhatnagar, who is now known as Sound After, he picked it up and he fell in love with it so much that he actually made a remix, a dubstep remix. And I was totally against it. And I said, no, you can't be doing this, because I couldn't believe that it's gone to such a slow song to something big. And then he said, oh, I would like to submit this to the BBC. And I said, please don't. And that was because it was my insecurity of how I'm going to be judged as an artist, because in previously I did share lyrics with somebody and they laughed at me. So, there was always this confidence thing that would I be able to handle myself as an artist? But then he told me, sure.
On that. So was it the insecurity from somebody telling you in essence couldn't write properly, didn't have lyrics, or was it the fact that you didn't feel that it was something that was going to be received by the masses?
Yeah, because you're always constantly listening to other songs. You never feel that your dream is going to come up until you put yourself out there. And this is why I come back to it, Sukhi, that if you want something in life, you need to sometimes put yourself out of your comfort zone, because there will be a fear element to it. but you never know who it could
Truly.
touch. And if I hadn't put my song out, I wouldn't be here speaking to you now. Or if I
Absolutely.
hadn't had that argument with my friends, I speak to them now, bless them.
About rain.
But yeah, about rain,
Can't they feel the rain?
Yeah, they don't feel it. But and then what he had gone and done, even though he put it past me that he's going to put it to the BBC, he had already submitted it to the BBC. So the BBC were actually trying to call me. I
Anyway.
ignored their phone calls, but then I finally gave in.
So the fact that what really gave you the closure on that insecurity, was it the fact that people were receiving it beautifully?
Yes.
And was this the what I call the was this the genesis moment for you as a human being to actually start to say, do you know what, I am, and then start to think about writing and the lyrics that you're portraying?
Yeah.
You dug deep for rain, right?
Yeah, I dug deeper into the talent that I never knew I had.
And so going forward, when rain was so well received, what did you feel?
Oh, it's beautiful. I was quite overwhelmed, actually. Quite overwhelmed with the fact that, because when I was in the band, I only saw the band members. I was never exposed to the Asian music circuit, as they call it. So this was opening a whole new world to me, because firstly, I was independent, I was solo, no band behind me. So it's just really about really putting myself out there and stepping stones to network with like-minded individuals, and actually reconnecting with some amazing artists as well, that were in the Asian music circuit, which I actually have with me to this day, performing with me live. I think you've had Vikash Sakandesha on. Vikash is like one of the guys that actually pushed me to start my music back. Big love to him.
Brilliant. And a big shout out to Prakash as well. So one of the things I'm talking about internally is that, did you find that it reconnected you though as well? Because obviously it's doing something to people, right?
Oh yeah, it really did, Sukhi. That bit that was missing in my life for those 3 years, I got it back.
You see, for somebody,
beautiful.
Somebody who's connected with oneself, and you've got such a warm vibration, which I'm sure everybody would agree with.
Thank you.
But there isn't the arrogance to come with it, and this is really warming that you've got somebody who's an artist, who's a produced artist, who's been in a band for 20 plus years. We worked out the exact figure, but I won't say it. 20 plus years, who actually can sing and has a beautiful heart of profusion, but can write as well, and then get recognized by it as well. So I'm just thinking about that. There's a wonderful essence of humility there as well. So my question to yourself is that, how do you dig deep? Because you must be you're gratified for something, but where is it coming from? Because I find modern artists, not all, by the way, and I'm just making a frank conversation, that can sometimes get the better of them, and this is a part of the downfall of an artist. And then once they become resonant again, they uplift. If you look at the films such as the Rocket Man and stuff, they all have that same they would fall to their downfall, and then they rebuild them up. But you haven't had that downfall due to arrogance. I'm saying, how did you manage to maintain it so beautifully?
It's just life experiences, Sukhi. I've worked myself way up, and please, I'm not going to, again, it wasn't a bed of roses. So many doors are closed on me. In fact, so many doors still closed on me. And then it was kind of hard, because there was a point after rain that I didn't have much going on. And then I thought, how am I going to do this? And, I had no manager, I had no PR, I had the finance. So, but then after rain was put out, then like-minded collaborators such as producers and artists started to hit me up and ask me, would you like to sing on my song? And then to keep myself humble, I just got to remember that there's a reason for why I'm singing, and it comes from a sacred place from me to put out there in the world. And without, I've had no music for 3 years, so I couldn't do that to myself again. And if that means me having loads of breaks or learning or whatever, then so be it. But just keeping consistent as an artist.
So just to touch on, that's wonderful to hear that. So that really does give an example. I'm now going to ask you, if you don't mind, to warm up that throat again and just give me a few lines of Rain. I'm sorry I'm pushing you like this, but
That's fine.
we're here to connect with our audience. So get yourself nicely warmed up there again. And
Yeah,
if
sure.
you don't mind, just a couple of lines of Rain. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Your
So it's metaphorical, so just think of it that way. Can you feel the rain? Can you feel the sun? Can you feel the moment of the pain that's going on? Can you hear me laugh? Can you hear me cry? Can you feel my pain when you left and you said goodbye? Can you feel the rain? Can you feel the sun? Can you feel the rhythm of the beat that's playing on? Can you hear me laugh? My heart is open wide. Have you felt the feeling when there's nothing left inside?
Wow, wonderful. And you can feel when you understand that the rifts of the control of looking and seeing it turning from being an angry song into a love song is really quite
interesting. It's an interesting track.
It is. It's very beautiful. The lyrics and again, it's your debut lyrics written songwriting.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Sukhi.
Truly, really, really honestly. So one thing that I understand a little bit about yourself, that you're quite a tough cookie. So your life has kind of like changed a little bit. We mentioned just 3 years. You said that you didn't actually sing for 3 years. Would you mind just enlightening the audience a little bit about that? Because our way of interviewing is a little different to most. We're not just interested about showbiz to try and get ratings and rankings. We want people to actually really feel, understand, connection with the audience and with the artist themselves, or with the interviewed individual, the guest. You nearly lost your voice.
Yeah.
That is your core. It was your heart. Not being able to sing, not being involved in a band. Please just shed some light on what happened.
Sure. So it was literally 9 years coming up to me being a solo artist. So it was amazing. 2017, I just had my first gig opening for the Alchemy Festival in London. For me, you just couldn't get top of tops with that, with the band
Alchemy
and so
Festival.
forth. Yeah, Alchemy Festival.
Wow.
And then I went on holiday, and then I came back, and then I started to get a cough. But Sukhi, when you have an inkling that this is not just a cough, there's something wrong here. So I went to the doctors and were like, no, it's fine. You'll be fine. I knew there was something further than that. So I actually got it checked out privately by a proper consultant. And they advised me that I had is what is known as disorder of the vocal cords, which is actually known medically in medical terms, dysphonia. And they had realized, they actually put me straight away to the doctor actually advised me that I'm not allowed to speak for a couple of months, because I had lost my voice. I was like this. I could not even make words. That's how bad it got.
And you're singing now? Wow. Just to answer the question. So hang on a second. You got yourself in a situation where you couldn't even talk, and it was
I couldn't talk. Yeah.
Like a tickly
cough. But it was a tickly cough. It was quite, and then I was having palpitations. It all became like apparent acid reflux and whatever, and I couldn't understand what was going on with my body, and it was just really reacting to trauma of just overusing my voice from such a young age to like where I am now. And
possibly not professionally knowing how to really maintain.
Yes, to really maintain, because I'm self-taught, and although I've had vocal coaches over the years, I haven't maintained it. So for me, that was a big lesson. And then so I had to have a speech therapist to make my words. And at that very point, the doctor said that I might not be able to sing again. So that was a big shock to the system.
Devastating. So hang on a second. I'm just going to get this right so the audience can understand the chronology. You
Yes.
go away, you get a cough, and I'm sure there's other
Mm-hmm.
singers who have this sort of scratchiness in their
Yeah,
voice as
yeah.
well.
Like the
So
huskiness.
huskiness, yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
you got a cough, and then it evolved over a period of like a week, 2 weeks
Yeah. And it
into
got worse.
it
Yeah.
got worse into you
Yeah.
couldn't speak.
I couldn't speak. Yeah. I
Wow.
literally couldn't speak.
And going to the normal system, they then double checked on it, and you found out it was dysphonia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which then basically, I'm just blown away by the fact that it's your core, it's your life, it's your passion, it's your love, in essence, outside, obviously, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, sure.
How did you cope with this?
It's very hard, Sukhi, because at the time, not only did I lose my voice, I started to lose people in my life in terms of they didn't understand where I was coming from. The community wouldn't understand. They actually thought that I was just putting it on. And because, there was a lack of understanding of what it actually is. Now, forget me being a singer. Can you imagine this in every day-to-day life that you can't even say hello to somebody? When you go to a party, you can't even dance. Like, you can dance, but you can't sing the song.
No.
You can't talk.
You can't dance from inside.
Yeah, literally. And it was a very sad time in my life, but a pivotal point in my life where I thought, oh gosh, I have to look after myself. And if it means me rebuilding myself personally and physically, then so be it. Here is my journey. And I took that on.
So this is just to touch base. This is a message to anybody out there who's listening, who's ignoring these signs of self-love, really looking after yourself. It's a message to say it's not okay. You should be looking after yourself.
You should.
Shouldn't run yourself down beyond. Obviously, that's where you took yourself, and you nearly lost the core into your life. I mean, for all of us, we all love to talk, I'm sure. And it's a bit of a. You're laughing and you're jovial about it, but it's such a serious thing.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So I'm asking a question. There must be other singers who've had similar sort of touches, and you showed great inner strength and support from you. I'm sure your immediate family.
Yeah, without their support.
Yeah, but the community caused you a challenge, right?
Yeah, so, they did.
And so what sort of thing went on there? Just so we can share
it so then it was just really a matter of just getting the support from the right people, and professionally, personally, looking after myself. I had to change my whole diet. Cutting out tomatoes. Yes, Sukhi, if you think about it.
Vocals?
Yes. You know what? Tomatoes has the worst acid in a vegetable. And that was the first thing that my speech therapist told me. Give up tomatoes, give up pineapple. Yeah.
Two things.
Drink loads of like lemon, honey, ginger, obviously, water. But she said to me, you can have all the fancy medicine in the world, but you know what's going to help you is water. So it's just water, drinking loads of water, because it's flushing out that acidity in your throat, in your, I mean, everyone's journey is different, but this was my journey.
Absolutely.
You need to get it professionally seen. But for me, it was like drinking loads of water, carrying on, I've even got it here, carrying around little bottles like this to spray down my throat to keep my throat. It's just water. It's just water.
Just keep it hydrated.
Yeah, to keep me hydrated.
Sorry, apologies. We all know by drinking, it can't hydrate your voice box. So what you're doing is basically helping the hydration with a single spray.
Yeah.
Really nice trick. So I'm going to ask you a question. Is there a possibility? I mean, I'm thinking in my head that you cannot be the only vocalist who's having this challenge.
Yeah. No.
So
there were other like.
What support did you get from the music industry?
From the music industry, it was just the very close artists that know me, that they helped me through it. And it's just unfortunate it wasn't picked up by anybody to speak about it. There were a few online websites, but it's just really been my mission, Sukhi, to if someone, I advocate that you really need to look after your voice, whatever profession you are. And I will drill it all the time, and I will keep putting it on my Instagram or wherever I am, because that was a part of my life that was so big. But it changed my music and it changed my voice. And I'm so blessed for that lesson, because now my vocal range has I have a low octave, which I never had before. but I'm aware of how I speak and how I breathe and how I articulate such words when I'm singing. You know, it may not be perfect at times, but it's the rawness, right?
I get you. What you got to remember is that I teach regularly. We talk about my father, Mr. Randir Wahiwala. He used to tell me when I was younger, he says, son, don't work with people who have not lost money because they will never value it correctly. So, you know, you as a vocalist, there's plenty of vocalists out there who have not lost or damaged their voice or have not looked after it. And working with them, they'll have that inner arrogance. What I'm trying to get at is that you've kind of been on the edge and you've reluctantly, you know, returned from it as well. You know, you've brought yourself back. You know what? I can't believe how fast time's going, but I'm also aware this has been a wonderful journey so far. And I hope everybody's enjoyed it so much. Please do comment below, do share your love with everybody and with Rita and myself, and just to keep us supported. One thing I've got in my mind here, Rita, is that do artists come to you now because you've actually started your own because of the healing that you went through yourself? You started your own, you could say, channel when it comes to Instagram, and you're actually delivering a new program, aren't you? So would you mind just telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so in the time that I had dysphonia, music really helped me by listening to it, by just taking it all in. And then I've always pondered what music means to people, just like-minded people. And then this is where Music Heals came about. I wanted to put something together that has I have a conversation with regularly, Monday and Thursdays, around 8 o'clock on IG Live.
IG Live, Instagram, isn't it?
Yes, it's on Instagram. If you follow me, Rita Morar, you'll find it on there. I'm constantly going on about it. TAMORAR, yeah. And it's called hashtag Music Heals, and basically it's just what does music mean? What does music mean to that person? So I sing a rendition of a song, and then I invite a like-minded creative individual to just share their musical journey with me. What has been their inspiration? What is their song of solace? Which I then put a Spotify list of all the songs that have healed these artists. So it's just a flowing conversation.
If I just clarify, so basically it's like you do your rendition, so it's like a Rita's rendition of a track, and then it goes into another track, or you interview an artist.
Yeah, I interview another artist, whether it be an MC, producer, or
and something that's inspired them or brought them back from the ashes, should I say? So then they re-sing that like a cover.
Yeah, and then they just share their talent really too. It's just another way of my platform sharing the music, but then it inspires other people that are watching, and then they get to know about them, and it's just all about giving really. You know, when we've been in isolation, that's the key thing.
How has it been received? Because obviously people know you over a period of time. Sorry, I'm over talking you there.
No, it's fine.
I think we've got a slight delay. I do apologize in the recording. I think I'm catching a little bit late. My apologies if it sounds as though I'm cutting in. So how has this been received by the music industry? I mean, are they really heavily supporting it? Do you get a lot of the Asian artists supporting you? Or
oh yes, it's. Would you believe it, Sukhi? I've already had my 16th guest on, and it's been since March.
So hang on, whoa. You're beating me here. Hang on a second. No. This is not allowed. So hang on a second. What date did you start? In March?
25th of March. And it was actually Vikash was my first. Yeah, he was my first guest.
So that's lockdown. That was wow.
That was literally lockdown, yeah.
So in the lockdown period, talk about being positive in this time, stretching and testing. By the way, our heart goes out to anybody who's had any losses during this COVID period of lockdown. Genuinely, my heart. It's a
sending love.
Genuine serious issue. I've personally known nearly 7 people who passed into the light in this period of time, and our heart goes out to them. But this is also a time when things like this happen, when we actually look inwards and start to become ourselves, right? So we start to flourish and start to open our wings, I suppose, get past those little blocks that you had, you know, that comfort zone. So you went out and you did something really beautiful. You stepped up and you created an online show, in essence, right? So if somebody wants to watch this particular 16th episode ahead of me in 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks now, how could they engage with this? Just go straight, hit you upon what?
Hit me upon on Instagram. Follow me. and then you'll get to understand what Music Heals is about, because it's on most of my feed. As I said, Sukhi, I have a show on Mondays at 8 o'clock BST time, and also Thursdays at 8:15 after we've clapped for our lovely NHS. And it's just for an hour. So you get a Rita's rendition song from me, a cover of an Eastern or Western song, or even my own. And then we get like-minded creative individual to talk about their musical journey. And it's just been so beautiful. I've got the next one this Thursday.
You can plug it. Come on, let's give it some. This Thursday.
This Thursday, I have an amazing MC that's just come up and coming, and he's got this amazing like old school Cardo vibe. And on Monday, I actually had a bhajan singer. So you can see the varied, you know, and it's been getting a lot of love from the industry, and people are reaching out to me to be part of it as well. So I'm so blessed that people are understanding, not scripted, just a conversation like we are having, just an honest heart to heart about music.
Wonderful. So do connect with Rita. Don't hold back. Do as best you possibly can. So Rita, this is the time towards the end. I can't believe we were into the last 3 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Have you
I can't believe
enjoyed
it.
the start?
Yes, I have. Thank you so much for having me on, and for being part of your 50th episode. You know, I'm absolutely humbled. Thank you.
Really wonderful from us. The question Rita has to ask is a very deep question.
Yeah.
And the question is, if we call this the legacy, what legacy?
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. It's like, what would you be remembered for, or what would you like to be remembered for, and then why?
Rita Morar, a soulful artist who, through her music, emotionally reconnects you to yourself.
So Rita Morar, a soulful artist who emotionally connects you to yourself through her music. Yeah. Wonderful. That's such a lovely, that's probably the most concise epitaph we've actually had. Principle. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I'm asking you a simple question. We've got a couple of minutes left. I mean, why?
Because music is sacred. Music can heal. Music can be used in all sorts of moments. Happy, sad, when you're praying, when you're thoughtful, when you just need some guidance. And I truly believe that any note out there, it's a universal language. You don't need to understand the words. You just need to understand the emotion behind it. You know, and a lot of people have been doing that, haven't they, in isolation, singing on balconies and singing, putting music together
from the heart
to keep us all connected.
People connecting, and actually people doing renditions of songs.
Yeah,
you know, on voiceovers like this.
Yes, sure.
All over the world, right?
Yeah, totally.
So
it's emotion behind it.
So that's truly the connector, isn't it? The emotion. I hope it's been an absolute pleasure having you here this evening with us tonight.
Thank you, Sukhi. Thank you so much.
Of the Empower. Thank you very much, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And to our audience this evening, you know, once again, thank you very much for supporting us here on YouTube Live. It's temporarily while Salam Radio, which is our sponsor, is not available to broadcast due to the lockdown period and this very odd COVID period of time, but very serious time as well. You know, we have thoroughly enjoyed sharing our time with yourself. Please keep tuning in. It's every Tuesday evening between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed our time here with Rita Morar, an inspirational singer-songwriter and artist, an emotional artist that touches you. Thank you very much for tuning into the Empower Hour. See you next week at the same time, live, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Tuesdays.